Hi everyone, this is John, and I'm going to give you a general walkthrough of my page. Since my audio was way off last week, I just recorded these comments on this PowerPoint, so I hope it makes sense. My page is Refereeing 101, an instructional resource for new high school basketball officials. This slide shows the layout of the page, where it is organized in a modular fashion. You can see the Roman numerals up top that correspond to each lesson. Each lesson has an objective listed up top, so it's clear to the learners from the beginning what they're expected to learn based on that lesson. This layout was built so that learners could easily navigate back and forth among the lessons without having to get too lost or confused based on the navigation and interface of the page. So the basic overview, kind of high level of this course, is that it is designed for brand new high school basketball officials who will be starting to referee for the very first time. This course will be accessed prior to beginning classroom training, so it makes it a very high-level overview, and it is essential that key ideas are outlined here and that everybody has a good foundation. The audience will be spread out geographically, so it's important to create a standard basic overview that will allow all beginners to establish a foundation of common basic knowledge, so when they congregate in the classroom for the first time, there's not a whole lot of time wasted getting everybody to understand and speak the same language, if you will. That has already been established by accessing this course. So I'm using the character of Jack as a guide to help learners navigate through the course. So Jack's picture will show up on every page. And Jack is a character that will be similar to the audience in that he is someone getting involved with basketball officiating for the very first time. And he's a character with whom the target audience can relate. This is rooted in the instructional design theory that guided learning through characters can help facilitate learning. So it makes it a little more personal, and it's not just a lot of facts being thrown at the learner, but they can walk through the steps with someone with whom they can relate. The target audience for this instructional material is new officials in our high school officiating association. Their basketball knowledge and experience will vary, as will their technological background. Because of this, I made an effort to make the interface simple to navigate. Since the levels of knowledge will also vary, I didn't want to force people to sit through material they already know, so the order of going back and forth among the different modules is not required in any order. In other words, they don't need to successfully complete Module 1 before moving on to Module 2. I know that as a learner, oftentimes this is kind of beneficial, so you don't feel like you're just sitting through basic information that you don't need. But also, if you want to access that, that allows the learner to have some freedom in pick and choose what exactly they want to reinforce by learning. But ultimately, they are required to take the final assessment. So this isn't just kind of a nice to know instructional module. They are held accountable for all of the knowledge that is contained on this page, and they just need to pass that final assessment, which will encompass all the modules. So I checked with experts and newer officials to see what the main objectives should be for such a beginner's course as this. They have to be set at a higher level for this course, especially because it's being accessed online. But I thought it important to ask both subject matter experts as well as people who have recently been beginners to see what was most important for them starting out. Now, when I say subject matter experts, I spoke with people, a couple of my acquaintances who have done like high school state championship games, so kind of the best in our association, just to kind of survey what they thought was the most important objectives to have, as well as recent kind of new beginners, just to kind of get their fresh perspective on what the most important pieces of knowledge and action items were to have before actually setting foot on the court as an official. My approach for designing this course was to find a balance between giving factual information through simple text and explanation, while allowing learners to show their mastery and understanding of this new knowledge through videos and interactions. As mentioned before, since there may be some variation in background knowledge, I wanted to make sure I allowed learners to access what they needed to. So the only requirement is the final assessment, not the assessment for each module or lesson. I utilized Adobe Captivate often to create interactions and checks for understanding so that learners have lots of opportunity to apply their learning throughout the course, not just at the end. What I like about this is I like having the videos as examples of the facts and information provided, as I find it to be an invaluable tool for reinforcing key facts. So I can explain, okay, here's what a travel is, here's what it looks like to call a foul, and then the learners are able to see an actual example of that right away and not just have to picture it in their own minds or just kind of trust that what they're reading, they can automatically carry that over to the court, but they can actually see that right away. And there's certain times too where I will ask a question based on a video, based on a certain play, and I think that's just a great resource to have. It really helps reinforce the learning there. So with my testing audience, I tested the navigation, overall layout, and interface of the website. Due to a lot of videos and Captivate created interaction that I was mentioning before, there was a lot of feedback that this site was a little slow, and I definitely agree with that. But all testers confirmed the need for what was there, meaning that they found that very valuable. So that's kind of an ongoing process for me. Is okay, is this Adobe Captivate created interaction? Is it slowing down the actual website? As you can see, sometimes it takes a while to load. But they said it was worth it to keep it. So in terms of just kind of the actual audience, I asked my wife, who has zero interest and zero knowledge of officiating, to test it, just for kind of general navigation and general website layout, the feedback. And then for the actual subject matter, I asked expert officials, like I was talking about, officials who worked at a high level, to go through the material and vet it for anything that could be edited. The key changes I made were to add more videos and images to facts and sections that were kind of word heavy to reinforce this learning. So oftentimes it said, it just seemed like we were certain sections, especially in the basic terms, for example, on Roman numeral 1. They said there's just so much information there. Maybe if you can kind of insert even like that character of Jack, as you can see there, just kind of roll over, just some kind of interaction, just a way to make it a little more less boring, a little more interactive. I also at first kind of just had one big page, and there were certain sections divided up by what are now the Roman numerals. So one of the first changes I made based on testing was to add tabs and modules that are now the Roman numerals up top to make it easier to navigate. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of my basic website. And again, I apologize for last week for delaying everybody with my inability to have the audio work. But that's just kind of a simple walkthrough of my site. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thanks.